Is Ariel?
Yeah, come on up, guys.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks everybody for giving us this opportunity to work on such a fun, social impact challenge here for the Capital Area Food Bank of Texas. So today we honed in on a mobile donation experience to increase the funds that folks are donating through their digital experiences. Here's the team. I'm Fred. I was the project manager. We had Brent doing functional, our wonderful customers, Peter doing architecture with William, Nicole, and Phil on the UI design. So the challenge was to increase mobile donations, and this was their current experience on the right on a package called Convio. Convio, yes. So the current donation form was not friendly, so it didn't have responsive design. There was some challenge in their technology, so when you were on your smaller screen, you were getting side scroll bars and you had to zoom in, right? It was confusing. It was not a very inspiring copy. So the solution was to create a responsive design donation form with fluid design, optimal viewing, update the copy for more engaging, and use the current CMS for form development. And Nicole's going to talk more about that. So this was our approach, right? Hackathon, we had limited time, so we immediately met with the customer, started gathering requirements, and documented around 20 requirements, and broke the team into two. Nicole led the UI design, and Peter drove the architecture conversations. And by noon today, we were actually doing technical development and reviews of our designs, actually coding. And then work through testing and kind of some gap analysis. So I'm going to hand it over to Nicole here to talk about the UI design here.
Sure. So really quickly, we wanted a responsive device that could be viewed across multiple devices. So what we did, and we also wanted to tie into kind of the storytelling direction that they were going into as well. So we tied in dollar amounts to actual meals so people would understand that the amount that they're donating, what the impact is. So it's not just a dollar, it's I am creating this amount of meals that will help feed people. We limited the gift amount, and we also equated the gift amount back to meals, and we really tried to simplify the form so that it was very streamlined and easy to use. Once the donation form was completed, obviously this is just a small section of the donation form, they would be taken to a thank you form that once again tied into the aspect of here is the family, this is where the meals that you're donating are going to, and multiplying their impact by getting them to share it with a friend. So they'd be able to basically say, hey, I just bought 125 meals today. Here's someone's life who I have impacted.
Wonderful. Yeah. And notice the social media integration at the bottom, which is one of our requirements. So now getting into the architecture. So this particular challenge or opportunity was to find the best architecture solution for mobile to integrate with the customer's existing package, which was Convio Online, which is hosted out in the cloud. And they also had on-premise data center, Black Cloud, Razor's Edge as well. And real quickly, there was two options that we had to evaluate. The first was to update their existing CMS form to add components in it so it would have responsive design. And the second one was to build a cloud solution on Windows Azure to call Convio's API either through JavaScript or the RESTful API. And Peter, do you want to talk quickly about the APIs?
I get the fun part.
Yes.
This is where we had some massive challenges that we came across. Convio as a management system has a lot of flexibility for the CMS web content part. As soon as you get into the forms, completely locked down. So we tried various attempts to see how we could actually get in to modify the HTML dynamically and CSS. Because one of our key things here in looking for a solution was, obviously, Capital Area Food Bank don't have any technical staff. So in terms of maintenance and support going forward, we didn't want to have another system ideally. We wanted them to be able to still use Convio. That one proved to be a dead end after a lot of exploring. And we weren't able to actually customize the form within the system. So it the system does provide an API, and we had a look at a couple of different ways on that. In terms of time, we've got some partial solutions towards those, and that's our recommendation going forward. The key thing on that will be to find some platforms that are easy for them to have some staff or some close consultants actually manage in languages that they can get access to.
Yeah, wonderful job, Peter. So the picture tells 1,000 words, and it's a complicated environment to take these donations, and everybody's challenged with mobile right now. So, you know, I look forward to some more sessions at South by on mobile enablement. But we do have some solutions, right? So the first one was on the Convio form, and here's the link to the live system. You know, it is, as we talked about, we went through on the CMS, and it did have some restrictions on the sidebar. And then we were able to launch, just today, 10 instances on Azure and test out different CMS platforms. So we have WordPress up that has a mobile-enabled responsive form, and then another WordPress plugin called Breezy Form. Like, so these are all just types of options that we can use to prototype, to prototype going forward here on which one is actually going to be the best. And so our recommendation going forward is to build this integration into Convio. You leverage the JavaScript API. I think that was Peter's, or the RESTful API, but that was probably the quickest win. And test it out on Azure, and and when it's ready, move it into their hosting provider, because they do have a hosting provider outside of Convio. And then use their current CMS for the deployment, because they have skills in WordPress. And they have hosting, so there should be a good way to do that. So real quickly here, I do want to show you the UI again, just quickly on, this is kind of the beautiful development that Nicole has put together. But I was kind of more on the tech team. So when the win to me was really proving out these architecture options, and ultimately getting two live links of forms that are working. Working prototypes to build upon. Any questions?
Can we see the slide?
Oh, yeah. So here's the Microsoft Azure WordPress donation page, and it's as you can see when you if I can hit the scroll bar. Oops. It has the responsive design features where it's going to be shrinking. Definitely not pretty yet, but the form is working, and it's if you get a smaller screen, you can see how the text is going back, where today it's not really doing that. So that is the one on WordPress, and this is the one on Convio, which is we got a little bit more of the UI elements into it, but it was mainly when when you're on these projects and you run into a challenge with architecture, we had to go to Plan B. And so I think that the big win out of this all is the options that the food bank has to get this to get this solution up and ultimately get to the pretty picture that Nicole painted here.